Lesson 29. Freedom is love under all conditions. Once again, beloved friends, we join together with you because we remain as committed as you are to discovering ever greater depth to God's presence, ever greater depth of our own presence, ever greater depth at what alone is true always, of what alone is unchanged, unchanging, and unchangeable forever. We would speak unto you in this lesson of that which deepens the understanding of abiding in perfect knowing, in perfect knowledge. We want to address a theme that you have heard before, though from a slightly different perspective. The theme goes by a term that most of you are familiar with. That term is karma. Karma, as popularly considered, means that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. For everything you put out, a similar energy returns. Now, I have said before that karma can exist only where unconditional love does not. This means that out of the degree that your mind has not been purified of fear, that the mind has not been purified of need, that the mind has not been purified of its tendency toward idolatry, that is, creating something which is a substitute for love, mistaking form for content. Wherever this is occurring, you are indeed experiencing the creation of karma. What do we mean by that? Each time you hold an unloving thought, you are going to experience the effect or the fruit of that thought. In reality, there are two levels at which this occurs, or two ways in which it occurs. The first is immediate. The second is mediated through the forms of time. Unloving thoughts alter the chemical balance of your body. In the first, in that which is immediate, the very moment you think an unloving thought as a physically embodied being, you immediately alter the electrical flow of energy throughout the physical system. You immediately alter the chemical balance of the body and thereby experience tightness of the body, sadness perhaps, depression, and overall ill-at-ease feeling. For every negative thought, not just the big ones that you really get your attention wrapped around, but even the small ones, this is still true. Depression can only occur in the mind that has been denying its pathway to joy. Depression, then, is the result of a resistance to the true flow of life throughout the body-mind. This resistance occurs in many ways. It can be the result of not feeling a feeling to its completion, withholding a simple truth, and more often than not, from denying the impulse of the heart. As you begin to walk a spiritual path, you realize you need to be open to the guidance of the Holy Spirit, and that, in fact, you cannot awaken yourself, because if you could, you would have already done so. Then the opportunities are presented that contain within them all that you need to awaken from your illusion, but you resist it because it does not conform to your image of yourself. There are many ways in which you can resist and create a blockage in the flow of energy through the system. It is all around some form of negative thought. All negativity is an expression of fear. All attempts to control another are really fear. Anger is merely a form of fear. So the very moment in which the mind is used to think a negative thought, there is a very immediate karmic effect. Given that effect over a period of time, an illness is created in the body. Depression is created in the emotional field. The world will mirror your thoughts and beliefs. Second, there is a mediated form of karmic response, namely that the world around you will over a period of time coagulate, create itself in a context that will mirror to you that which seems to prove the negative thought that by now you have forgotten you even created. Then you will have the negative thought again, and you will mistakenly believe that the negative thought is there because of the condition outside of you. An example would be for someone to see an event occur in life, such as the government raising taxes, and then say, "Yes, I have always known that that's the way it is. You cannot trust a single politician." Yet that one is not seeing that 15 years ago he decided that politicians could not be trusted because he heard it from his father and knows in his mind that the politicians will always do something to take more money out of his pocket. Then 15 years later, when taxes are raised, the mind says, "I knew it. I think I must have been right all along." See what they did? This means that politicians can't be trusted, when in fact the politicians are merely the manifestation that fulfills the prophecy. In this way, I want to invite you to look at your life. How are the events that are occurring and the quality of life you are living possibly reflecting a self-fulfilling prophecy? In other words, how could it be merely the fulfillment of the karma of how you are using the mind? Usually in the secondary form of the way karma shows up, the beliefs or thoughts are very, very old, deep in your unconscious. As you go back in time and look at your life, ask, what must I have believed previously for this effect to be showing up? For instance, if you have no money, look well at what you believed about money in the past. Especially look to see, what were the beliefs about money that my parents held? For indeed, as we have touched on before, each soul drops into this world through the context of the parents. There is a context of perception, belief, and attitude that you begin to be colored by because you are accepting that coloration into the field of your own energy as a means of making contact with this world and emerging into it. If, for instance, the parents believe that spirituality and material wealth cannot go together, and therefore to be spiritual means to do without materiality, then look at how your life has evolved. Do you find a block at receiving money for being of service to others, but no block in receiving money for doing something you dislike? Live in that question, beloved friends, and begin to apply it to the whole of your life. As you look at your life, look at the effects you experience as your surroundings and your context. Are you alone, with no lover or friends? What have you believed about the world previously? For somewhere, it is the nature of your thought, the agreements you have made unconsciously or consciously about what things mean, the agreements you have made with the family and the culture in which you have been birthed, that has actually generated the energy that is showing up as the effect you experience as your life. What thoughts or beliefs were you holding within the mind? One common thought might be, "Oh, I just can't really make it on my own. I need to be taken care of. I don't believe that I have what it takes." Then 25 years later, you wonder why you feel resentment toward the mate. The resentment is merely the recognition that you thought a negative thought about yourself, acted upon it, and have created the effects of someone who is controlling and provides you with all your money. You think there is a fault in them because you have forgotten to see the pebble that you dropped in the pond of omnipotent creativity, which is a domain of the mind. Karma, then, is an effect of how the mind is used. Now I have indeed said that karma can only exist where unconditional loving does not. What does that mean? When the mind unconditionally loves, it loves first itself, and places no conditions upon what it receives as ideas from the universe. There are many in your world that look up to those who take the greatest chances in life. For example, the actor or the actress who waits on tables at some cheap hamburger stand, sleeps on a park bench, keeps taking acting classes, and finally gets a part and becomes rich and famous. Yet the one who becomes rich and famous is one who received the impulse of a desire to act, and followed up on it, and was willing to do whatever it took to be in the context in which something may or may not occur. They had the willingness to take the risk. Such a one is living actually in a state of unconditional love of the self. Whether they think about it or not, they are carrying the subtle belief that the universe will somehow arrange itself and will support them to follow their heart. Karma does not exist in unconditional love. In unconditional love, karma does not exist. The example I have given you is just a rudimentary phase of unconditional loving, in its mature state, in its spiritual state. Unconditional loving means that the mind has awakened and seen that nothing that occurs in life can cause it to contain or withdraw its love. In the perfection of unconditional love, the mind simply loves. Karma, then, cannot be said to exist because that mind is no longer experiencing effects coming back to it. It has transcended the world of cause and effect, and regardless of what arises, it merely loves. And who can be imprisoned who simply loves? So there is a transcendence of karma through unconditional love, and unconditional love is always the fruit of the decision to love oneself, not because it is a duty to do so, not because it will make your husband love you more. You love yourself because you finally recognize that you might as well, that is all. You love the self because your Creator loved you enough to create the self. There truly are no effects that are occurring as the result of a source of power outside of you. In other words, nothing is being done to you. Nothing. You are free, in each and every moment, through the power of love to free yourself of what looks like the effects of the world. In truth, you are never at the effect of anything, but the illusion of thought and belief that you have learned to project onto the world. Many of you feel somewhat fearful of telling your friends and neighbors that you are reading the Way of Mastery that contains the guidance of Jesus or Jeshua. That very fear that you feel, that constriction is karmic. Somewhere a long time ago you decided that following your own pathway must stay concealed and is not worth very much, that nobody will agree, and that their opinion decided your worth. I would ask you this question. Could there be fear in sharing with your friends that you study lessons on achieving mastery from Jesus of Nazareth? Could there be fear of sharing this if there was no prior belief that the opinions of others have the power to decide whether you are good or bad, worthy or unworthy? If that was not in place, there could not be the fear. So somewhere you have believed that there is a world outside of you whose opinions matter. Where then in your life do you limit your expression of your joy and your fun of simply being alive because you are concerned about the approval of others? Karma is a most interesting concept, and it shows up in many, many ways. Ask yourself, Where are the effects I experience in my life that are a result of karmically induced thought, as opposed to thoughts of unconditional self-acceptance? Beloved friends, the fact that you are experiencing yourself as a body-mind is, in many ways, karmic. That is, it is the result of the vast expanse of mind to dare to think a teeny, mad idea and take it seriously that I could separate myself from the love of God and create an experience that convinces me that I have succeeded at achieving separation. Yet unconditional love transforms the experience of the body into something quite different. Unconditional love of self translates the life of the body-mind, the life of paying taxes, the life of keeping your car well oiled. All of it is translated so that the world becomes not something that proves your unworthiness, your separation, but rather is a medium of communication in which magic, in a sense, is always at play. Miracle-mindedness is always at play. You go to take your car to fill up your gas tank because your heart is open, your mind is open. You are not in resistance to it, and your eyes are open. You look around you and you feel the energy of somebody at the pump on the other side of the island. Because your heart is open, you go up to them and say, "I'm just here pumping my gas. I looked up and saw you. You got a great smile. You've made my whole day. Thank you." Then a conversation is struck up, and it is discovered that they are looking for someone in their corporation who happens to have your skills, and you are looking for a new job. The things of the world become translated into that which supports your ever-increasing joy, success, fond pleasure, material improvement, and new friends. It supports all of it when you see through the eyes of love. Then you literally look at the world around you and finally get it that it was never what you thought it was because you failed to separate yourself from God. Everything you see is there to support your happy experience. You are free to live in your highest joy, to ask for what you want, and to open the heart in love. And the universe will respond according to the beliefs you hold about yourself within yourself. Karma can be transcended. Look at your life, then, with respect to your karma, or the action that is occurring in response to a former action. One of the most powerful things you could ever do is to ask the question, what must I have believed is true about the world to be living the life I am living now? This is not to say that karma is bad or wrong. It is not. It is merely effect, cause and effect. Then ask yourself, where in the effects I am experiencing now can I bring a greater degree of unconditional loving acceptance? Where am I looking through the eyes of boredom instead of appreciation? Where can I bring a greater depth of unconditional love? Where can I let go of resistance? Where can I give up trying to direct my own life and allow the love of God to direct my life? Karma can be transcended by translating into something else. Karma can become the fulfillment of your purpose, your very way to extend and teach only love. For when you see that the effects called your life are the result of limited, fearful, negative thoughts or beliefs you have held about yourself and about the world, you can embrace the effects you have created and see them in a new light. I choose to allow these very conditions to be these conditions under which I now learn to choose love. What can I appreciate in this moment? What can I give forgiveness unto? Where can I overcome fear of speaking out and share a truth with a friend? What have I been avoiding that I now can embrace? In that very means, any set of conditions created as the effect of fear-based thinking now becomes the very pathway that will lead you to transcend the negative thinking and enter a domain of the use of the mind that will create effects far more enjoyable, far more expansive than you ever imagined. Do not, then, lament your life as it is, for it is absolutely perfect. Each set of conditions contain within it everything you need to translate your life into that which expresses your love of God. Never lament what you create. Never lament what you experience. Never judge yourself and say, "Oh, why did I do that? I should have done this other thing." No. Appreciate what you have created. Find what can be appreciated within it. Wrap the arms of your love around it. Bring unconditional love to it. Thereby you will find a window, a doorway to the creation of a new use of the mind that must necessarily require the universe to rearrange itself to accommodate the new vibration. Appreciation and love and unlimitedness require the universe to show up in a different way. In other words, karma is not your prison. Bringing your attention to the effects you create is a pathway to great freedom. What you did in the past to create the effects that you no longer want was not a sin or a mistake. It was merely a free choice in order to create experience. Fine, you have been there, you have done that. Now bring love and appreciation to the very effects that you may be judging. For example, why did I buy that stock? It was so silly. I didn't get enough information, and now the company has gone bankrupt, and I've just lost $10,000. Let me be in appreciation of this very effect. Yes, well, this is fantastic. I created experience for myself. I can do more of this. This is great. Oh, I just love myself so much. I can decide to do it differently. Oh, this is great. I just learned a valuable lesson. Next time I'll get more information. I'd like another opportunity for a great stock opportunity to make money. Ah, yes, and I'm going to be an expert at this. I can see it coming through my unconditional love. Yes. In fact, every time you think you have failed, celebrate. Celebrate your so-called failure as though it were success. For remember, it is up to you to decide what you will perceive. Events are just neutral. Therefore, you are free to celebrate what you call your failures. When you celebrate them, they are your successes. Any successful person knows that they never fail. They merely learn and become wiser. Become one who is no longer at the effect of karma. Become one who uses karma wisely by looking honestly at their life, learning what needs to be learned without judgment, but rather in celebration. Become one who translates their karma into the doorway to an ever-increasing awareness of God's presence and perfect love spread across the face of the earth, permeating everything you see, translating the world into the very means that can uplift you, awaken you, care for you, and heal you. Beloved friends, again we ask that you study well the theme of this lesson, and that you spend time with the questions that have been given unto you. For in the way of knowing, the mind that abides in a perfectly liberated state knows that the world of effects that the mind has experiences contains within it the very secret to an ever-increasing delight in the presence of God's love. There is no such thing as failure. There is only ongoing success, as life evolves from good to better to best, as the mind learns to be the presence of love. Freedom is love under all conditions. And with that, peace be unto you always. Amen.